Now let me give you one example that's not in here, recent debates. I've written on this an article on this as well. There's one narration in the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, going back to the famous companion Wa'il ibn Hujr radiallahu anhu. And the text of the narration basically says that the Prophet ﷺ used to place his right hand on the left in Salah, in prayer, and fold them beneath the navel, tahta surrati, under the navel. Now, if we get all the different manuscripts of the Musannaf available to us, what we discover is that some of the manuscripts do include the wording under the navel at the end of this narration, and another set does not mention under the navel. It just says that the Prophet ﷺ placed his right hand on top of the left. So some scholars have had debates about this issue. For example, 250 years ago in Sindh, there were two famous Hanafi scholars. One, Sheikh Muhammad Hayat al-Sindhi, and his contemporary, Sheikh Muhammad Hashim al-Sindhi. So they wrote works against each other, quite heated arguments, just on this narration, if it's acceptable or not. Sheikh Muhammad Hayat al-Sindhi, his argument is that it's actually a mistake by a scribe. A scribe has added the extra wording under the navel into the Musannaf, of certain manuscripts of the Musannaf. Whereas Sheikh Hashim al-Sindhi's argument was, no, this is an acceptable addition, because reliable scholars of the past have narrated that edition or that manuscript of the Musannaf and not condemned it. One of them is from the 8th century, Imam Qasim ibn Qutlubugha, who is one of the students of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. And so they use him because he's regarded as being a hafiz. So there's arguments for both sides. And both ways, both sets of arguments have credibility. They're both equally strong, in my opinion. But which one do we give preference to? The best way to look at it is to find the earliest manuscripts as possible. The more closer in time we go to Ibn Abi Shaybah, if those early manuscripts don't have that extra wording, then it's likely that Ibn Abi Shaybah didn't narrate the hadith with the extra wording, what's known as a ziyada to the text, meaning in this specific example, tahta surati. So this is what? Tashif in what respect? Look back. It could be tashiful basar, due to a misreading. A scribe could have misread a manuscript of the Musannaf that he had and added the extra wording. Why do I come to that conclusion? Because Sheikh Hayat al-Sindhi's argument is that the narration that comes before Wa'il ibn Hujr's narration is a narration from Ibrahim al-Nakhai, a famous tabi'i, and he said that the hand should be placed beneath the navel. So Sheikh Hayat al-Sindhi's argument is that this narration, the last portion, it says under the navel from Ibrahim al-Nakhai. What could have happened is the scribe, his eye fell on the narration of Wa'il ibn Hujr, and he added the wording under the navel to the end of Wa'il ibn Hujr's narration. Does that make sense? This is Sheikh Hayat al-Sindhi's argument. Whereas Sheikh Muhammad Hashim al-Sindhi's argument is that we have several manuscripts. They can't all the manuscript writers or copies can't have all colluded and made the same mistake, because these manuscripts are from different time frames as well. And if you look at the article I've written, the strongest evidence you can utilize to say that possibly it's not an error of the scribe, I'm saying possibility, because still you can argue both ways, the way of Sheikh Hayat al-Sindhi. Is why? Because there's one other narration that Qasim bin Qutlubugha brought forward, and it's from Wa'il ibn Hujr as well, and it's found in the work called Mu'jam al-Sahaba of Imam Abu Nu'aym al-Isfahani, or Asbahani as they say in Arabic, and also in the Mu'jam al-Kabir of al-Tabarani. And this version says that the Prophet ﷺ used to place his hands on the button. Button means on the abdomen. So it doesn't say above the navel or under the navel, it says on the abdomen. This narration, Qasim bin Qutlubugha remains silent upon. If we look at the chain, there's a weakness in the chain because of one narrator in the chain whose name is Hajjaj bin Nusayr. But there is a way of strengthening that narration, which I'm not going to go into for now. And if you utilize that narration and you accept that narration, the one I'm just talking about from Mu'jam al-Sahaba of Abu Nu'aym, if you use that, then it could give credibility to Sheikh Hashim al-Sindhi's argument that this extra portion added to the text is not an addition by a scribe, it's actually part and parcel of the hadith, and Allah knows best. There are works on this issue. Now Sheikh Muhammad Awama, he edited the Musannaf, like I said, in his recension, his edition, the 26 volume edition, he printed it with the extra wording under the navel, tahta surati, and he brought forward his arguments in the footnotes. I think it's a lengthy footnote for his case, why you should accept that ziyada to the text. And some people condemned him for that as well in the Middle East, some Arab critics of this day and age. And like I said, you can argue for both ways. One second, Qasim bin Qutlub, because I've named him by the way, he's a student of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Though Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani is Amirul Mu'mineen in Hadith, he's not infallible. In fact, Qasim bin Qutlub, he identified some mistakes of his own teacher, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. And he mentioned these mistakes as well. A short work that's been printed shows these examples of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani's errors. And they're not serious errors, they're just mild errors in hadith.